G'day, it's your old mate Matthew here. Welcome to the Yarnsman podcast. In this episode, we have a good yarn with Josh Komen. Now, start with a trigger warning here. We do touch on suicide in the story, so if you need to take some time out or some support resources, we check our website for that. We go into, we skip over a bit of his story really, and it's a man's search for meaning and connection through a 10-year cancer battle. We don't talk too much about that. We sort of more focus on the positive connecting and the things he's learnt through that, sort of referencing logotherapy and Viktor Frankl's search for meaning. And then it's moving on to breath science, the idea that to breathe with meaning, and that leading on to ice baths. One of the really interesting things for me was the acronym he uses of OPAL, so being open to new connections, pursue life with purpose, your attitude, and love like your life depends on it. I hope you enjoy the yarn. Hello and welcome to the Yarnsman podcast. Today we have Josh Komen on the episode with us. How are you, Josh?
I'm really good, thank you, Matthew. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for having me, and thanks for the flexibility to come around here today.
Oh, yeah, I limped around. So Josh is a father, a husband, a breathwork specialist, and all-round thriver. I'm looking forward to this one, mate.
Thank you. No, I'm looking forward to it too.
Well, let's dive into it. What have you struggled with in the last week?
What have I struggled with? Oh, mate, a lot. I mean, I've been a bit run down, had the old gastro, throwing up, then my daughter got it, sleep deprivation. When I get a bit sick too, my disease that I already have kind of gets inflated. And yeah, my mind can start to wander a bit. So I've definitely struggled with that, especially with a lack of sleep. So yeah, had a bit of a difficult week, but we've got some tools to manage that. That sleep deprivation, mate, she's tough stuff to navigate.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
So yeah, our family struggle with that.
What do you want to work on in the next week?
Yeah, that's a really good question. My wife and I, we always sit down. She's a great communicator, so she always goes, this is what we need to do for the week, and we lay out something. So for us, we've got our feet on the ground here in Christchurch. We've been here for 2 months now, so now we know our incomings and outgoings. We've done a little bit of work to the house, put some gates up, so structuring our finances, we're working on that. So that's something that we're going to work on, and a bit of a routine, and so getting our family a bit organised with our routines and where we're going around Christchurch. I was late for my first doctor's appointment ever. So I'm coming from the coast and I'm never late for a doctor's appointment because you've got plenty of time. You're living in Christchurch, you think, I've got a bit of time there, Get out to Condor Ave on the main road, mate, traffic's backed up. I was 45 minutes late, Matt.
Oh, shit.
45 minutes late, and I was pinching myself, mate, because I'm never late to an appointment. I like to be early, I like to be prompt. So first time, and I'm only 20 minutes away on a good day.
Yeah, well, watch out for traffic, watch out for all the roadworks. This is big city life.
I know, mate. I know. So that's something we're definitely working on for the next week. Yeah, setting up a bit of a routine for us.
It's an art, not a science, I think, with the traffic and whatnot. But anyway, what are you proud of?
Oh, mate, I might get a bit emotional here, but I'm definitely proud of my wee girl who's sitting inside. So proud of her growth. My wife. Yeah, very, very proud of my wife and our family. Yeah, and the decisions we've made and how we've collaborated together to make these decisions and still be a cohesive family. I mean, it's quite difficult for my wife. Her family lives in Switzerland. Yeah, establishing those kind of Swiss values that she has within New Zealand has been really cool. So I'm really proud of our little family unit that we have here in Christchurch, mate.
Like it. Nice one.
Yeah.
Now we're going to switch up the fourth question. So we're not going to ask what gives you hope, because after a conversation around the word hope not having meaning, we're going to say...
No, it does have meaning. Hope does. Hope's a great word. I love hope.
But what gives you meaning? And you can preface that question however you like.
What gives me meaning? I mean, that's a really cool question. I mean, I'm doing a bit of a diploma in Viktor Frankl. It's called the Viktor Frankl Institute. So it's called logotherapy, and logotherapy means healing through meaning. And so Viktor Frankl, if we can talk about him for a little bit to establish what meaning is. So he was the third pillar of Viennese psychology, the first being Sigmund Freud, and his notion was we humans have an innate will to pleasure. And then Albert Adler came along and he said, no, humans have have a will to power. That's our essential drive. And Viktor Frankl said, no, we have an innate drive to find meaning in our life. So Viktor Frankl, he was a clinical psychologist in Vienna in about 1924 to 1930, then got taken away to 4 different prisoner of war camps over the Nazi regime. So he got to test his theory to see what humans' innate drive was. And he saw that there were true acts of kindness throughout such horrendous atrocities, like people giving up their bread to help others, that meaningful connection towards other people to help in desperate situations. So meaning can be found in any moment, he talks about, and it's up to us to search for that meaning. So that's why he wrote that book, Man's Search for Meaning. So he doesn't talk about ultimate meaning, he's just talking about your search for your meaning, because your meaning might be different from my meaning. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we can talk like a bit of it's called opal, make up an opal analogy. So you can find meaning through open connections, making those connections openly. So that's meaningful. And then P is pursuing life with a deeper purpose. So finding a bit of a purpose, but with a deep purpose. What's my innate drive? What makes me me? What makes my heart tick, essentially? And then we talk about A, OPA, which is part of the acronym, and that is adopting a positive attitude. An attitude that's positive. And attitude is everything. And Viktor Frankl has a great quote about attitude. He goes, everything can be taken away from a person, but one thing: to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. So we spoke about that when he was in the prisoner of war camps. Everything got taken away down to their bare nudity, but he still had the right to choose his attitude. Yeah, in those desperate situations. And I thought that was phenomenal. This guy who's just, you couldn't think of anything worse. But yet he still chose his own attitude. That was his freedom that the Nazis couldn't take away. His attitude towards his suffering. So his attitude was, I'm going to turn this tragedy into a triumph, which I kind of adopted as well. And then L, for me, it's a part of the opal analogy. An opal is quite shiny and bright, is love. And we make those meaningful connections with love, and we find a partner, and we have children, and we have families, and have great friends. So love. So that's my little opal analogy that you can find meaning through.
And I like that, because now I'd been searching for the appropriate alternative question to what gives you hope. So what gives you meaning? And now you have to answer it.
What gives me meaning? I mean, right now, what gives me meaning is have a conversation with you, Matthew. We had a great conversation prior to the podcast. I understand a bit about you, where you've come from, your own little tragedies right now. You're on crutches, and how you're going to get over that. I mean, that's meaningful, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm not talking about, it's more of not an I-it relationship, it's an I-thou. So often we meet people, we want something out of it. It's an I-thou want to connect with you, so that's meaningful. I mean, a lot of the time I like to go into a coffee shop or something. I'm getting a coffee, but who can I have a yarn to?
Love it.
How are you?
What's right?
That's cool, Just make a small connection and it's meaningful. So it's not finding the ultimate meaning in life. It's just searching for meaning in that moment.
I love that, because it's so much what I'm about, it's so much about what the yarnsman is about too.
Because I think a lot of people can get convoluted, but if we go, what gives you meaning? Oh, what's the meaning of life? It's not finding the meaning of life. I don't think anybody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the search for meaning within your life.
And this is a really interesting thing, because I can easily say, my meaning, my purpose is keeping people alive and keeping people connected. Now that could seem like quite a grand big thing, whereas everyone else, I haven't got that, I haven't had that experience, so what's that thing? But it doesn't need to be big and grand. I like the opal acronym. We'll have to put that in the description.
Yeah, I mean, opals are beautiful, and I think we can find meaning through that acronym. Even getting outside in the morning, with deep reflection, about the day. I often wake up and I think, what's the worst thing that can happen? It's quite negative. I know what can happen, and then I can turn that around and turn it into a positive. That's meaningful. And I can feel the wind around me, connect with my feet on the ground, that kind of thing. Feel the light come into my eyes, and just being here presently where my feet are.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so important. Well, now you've been on quite the journey with life and meaning and whatnot.
I thought we were going to scrape on the story and talk about meaning.
We've already got quite a lot out of what gives you meaning. Where would you like to start on your journey, mate?
Yeah. Probably we could start here in Christchurch. Just a bit of a background. I grew up on the West Coast, beautiful place. And I was a line mechanic, loved my job, and I was quite a good runner. And I had a lot of potential there, so I decided to move over here in Christchurch when I was 21. Running, Christchurch had a really good running community here. So surrounding yourself with good people to get the best out of yourself, and that's what I did. And essentially my running really got really good. And during that year I won a couple of silver medals. It was going really well. And then all of a sudden I was out running in Hagley Park, twisted my ankle, and my body just wouldn't heal. And slowly started going downhill. I entered a bike race over on the west coast, collapsed off my bike, spent a week at home, night sweats, hallucinations, and then I ended up back in Greymouth Hospital and had I think about 60 plus blood transfusions that night, and I got diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. Yeah, so that's where we could start from.
Wow. I mean, there's so much in that, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know where my question goes to first, but did they have the facilities to diagnose that in the coast?
That's a great question. Coast has a decent hospital there, but yeah, they've got a blood lab. You can diagnose that. I was lucky that weekend. They had a professor down from Auckland. His name was Professor Sharp, and he actually gave me the diagnosis, so he could read the blood panels quite well, and he knew I had leukemia. I didn't know what leukemia was, mate. Had no idea, and then he told me it was cancer of the blood, and I was like, how does that even happen? So confusion really set in for me. And, I talk about this in other podcasts. I was confused about my diagnosis, but I was hurt by seeing my family, especially my mum, just crying with tears down her face. So I thought I was killing her, but I was the one that was dying. And that really hurt me. I just didn't know what to do. Like, why am I doing this to my family? I took blame. I took all the fault on myself, And then I got sent back to Christchurch, and my mum and family got to stay at an amazing place here that's in Christchurch. I want to give Ranui House a shout out. I'm now an ambassador for Ranui House. So Ranui House allows accommodation, like 5-star hotel, for people who need long-term care. And this could be anything. It doesn't have to be cancer. It can be for anything. So I met people who were getting dialysis, and people who were in acute car crashes and things like that. Amazing place, Ranui House. So my family were there, and I got sent to the South Island Bone Marrow unit in Christchurch Hospital, where they gave me a real formal diagnosis. It was a deep dive there. They had all the tools and resources to kind of understand my leukemic diagnosis.
Wow, it's great that there is, your Ranui House around. I think we should also shout out that they're the charity for the Christchurch Marathon.
They are indeed.
Which of course, I'd be getting behind, but that's I'm not running it, but I think it's fantastic that there's those things. How important? We've kind of just skimmed over. There's obviously a lot more to it than that, and you went on. It was a 10-year journey, right?
10 years in total. So there's so much to it. And sometimes when you're reflecting on it or telling the story, I've done 2-hour podcasts on it, you still don't get everything across. There is so much to it. But in that first instance, my physical body just deteriorated, had chemotherapy, I had a poor prognosis. But, this is a mental health podcast. My mental health just declined. I woke up in the mornings and saw myself this weak, pathetic man, and my communication to myself was terrible. Just horrendous, just vile coming out of my mouth to myself. Not actually coming out of my mouth, but that internal dialogue.
The monkey mind. The
monkey mind, man. It was just so bad. And, I put on a brave face to everybody. Yeah, I'm all good. Thumbs up. JK, we're sweet. We're all good. It wasn't until about maybe 3 to 4 months of my treatment that I just couldn't handle it anymore. Just couldn't handle it, mate. And the mind was out of control. You're weak, you're pathetic, you're doing this to your family. My identity was caught up in physical stuff, and that had just been stripped away. I struggled to walk 100, 200 metres, and I was just exhausted.
From being a fit, healthy.
Exactly, yeah. And I was in an isolation room for 4 weeks at a time. My body getting stripped away, spewing up, people wiping my bum. It's like my whole independence and identity had just been shaken away. And being 22, 23, I had no idea that I could get over this. I didn't think I could. I thought, this is who I am now. I had such a narrow aperture. And then spoke about Ranui House. I was out. My mum went out to get some groceries. and I was in recovery process because I got 2 weeks out after every cycle, and my mind was just out of out of control. It's always tough to talk about. However, it was just like a siren, man. Fuck, I just could not turn it off. It was just screaming at me, and I thought, me being me, I'm going to take control. I'm going to end this, like end it. And I really, really wanted to. I just wanted to end it, and I didn't know how, because I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to talk to somebody and go, hey, I'm feeling shit. It was always, yeah, I'm good, because that's the way I was brought up. That's the way I knew. If I was busy, I was good, sweet as. So I was on a balcony, and I thought, no, that's that. I always, I worked with heights. I would just jump. And then in that moment, I was putting my foot up, and then this wind hit the right-hand side of my face. I turned around, and I saw my mum's cup of tea still on the coffee table. And yeah, it's her love just brought me back, man. I just couldn't put the pain I was feeling on side of her. I just felt her love come into me, and I withdrew, sat down in the chair, and pierced my fingernails in my bald head and just screamed, man, what the heck is going on? And finally I had to ask for help, because it had been offered to me. It had been offered to me in the hospital. So I rang up canteen coordinator Sarah, and she said, yeah, I can get you some counselling. And that was my segue into getting some real professional mental health.
There's a real moment there of, I've started using the term choosing life, right? In that moment that you've had a realisation and you've chosen life, and that's fantastic, right?
That's Viktor Frankl there, but I hadn't read about Viktor Frankl yet. That choice that we do have. However, that wind had to direct me that way, and then it came to me to make that choice to pull away. Yeah, so it was that space that was created.
So you spoke to Canteen.
Yeah, Canteen got me a counsellor, yeah.
How honest were you with them for a start about what was happening?
Yeah, that's a good point. I was pretty honest. I was desperate, man. I remember the first session I was in tears, because I had no idea what was going on, so I just spoke about everything. And he just listened, and then we started from when I was young, to talk about all that stuff, what was going on, to get to this point, the way I thought. And it was great, man. It was so good. Like, the counsellor would be a complete opposite person to who I was if I met him at say, a pub or a cafe. Complete opposite. We probably wouldn't engage in a conversation. Maybe now I would, because I would.
Curious,
but back then I wouldn't have. But he was just so good. I mean, he just listened, and then we spoke about things that I hadn't touched on through my childhood to give me the way I thought and acted. Yeah.
So how long? What was the sort of process from there? Did you continually have support resources to talk through your treatment?
Yeah, so I think I had about 10 to 12 sessions. Oh, that's a long time ago. I'm sure it was about 10 to 12. And that was great. I really, really got myself into a good headspace. But part of that too, I mean, we spoke about Viktor Frankl. So the counsellor, psychologist, he gave me a book, Man's Search for Meaning.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Behind you.
Yeah, he gave me that book, and mate, that was my psychologist there. So I read Viktor Frankl, just absolutely loved it. Just his whole philosophy resonated with me. And I read it and read it and reread it and read it. And yeah, so when I left Christchurch, Viktor Frankl became my personal psychologist. And even though he's passed away, I consider him a great friend, because I carry him with me daily.
I love that. I also see Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, which was a book given to me when I was sort of going through a tough time, and it's good to have those for, I'll say, men. We are trying to solve our own problems. Read something that resonates, and that's something that can, provide a light through the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And also too, part of that was it brought my love for reading back. I used to love it to read as a kid, but being an athletic guy, I pursued that. And if you talk about reading to your mates, and you get a bit pushed back. So even though I couldn't physically do stuff, I started to read a lot more, and I really enjoy reading. I love reading. So yeah, that brought my love for reading back, and I stayed with Viktor Frankl, and that was my segue in.
How did you go about starting to talk to your family, friends, and things after first talking to the psychologist and finding Victor?
Yeah, I think that's a really important point to bring up, because often, social media, we talk about our problems, but sometimes you don't need to talk to everybody. You just need to find people that you trust, that you truly trust. And obviously that started with my mum, my dad. Man, the connection that I had with my dad from those conversations just brought us so closer. This was incredible.
As I was going to say, this is probably worth diving into a bit more.
Yeah.
If I understood correctly, the relationship with your father wasn't as close up until this point.
Correct. Yeah, it wasn't as close. We were completely different people. He had a horrendous upbringing, like one of the worst. I didn't understand him. He didn't really understand because I was into sport and things like that. But we had always an innate love for one another. But I wanted Dad to come to my sporting games, and he was never there working to give me things that he never had. That was him showing love. It wasn't until I was in this situation that I saw him fully cry, and man, did we connect. And then I got to understand him at a deeper level. So that's meaningful. So this is why I think pain gives us meaning. There's always meaning within suffering. And I connected through Dad's pain, and he connected through my pain. And now, a relationship couldn't be better, man. So that was a huge, huge thing for us to be able to grow together as individuals, as father and son.
Yeah, it's pretty magical.
It was.
There's a thing there around, it'd be great if people didn't need to go through a lot of trauma or an injury or illness to get to that point.
Yeah, but I think that, as Viktor Frankl said, if there's meaning in life, there's meaning in suffering. And we have to find meaning in that suffering, and it's everywhere, up to our last breath, and to have those connections. But yeah, we're all life is so difficult and it's hard. And I think this is something that I thought about too. Like when I was fast and fit and healthy, and I was doing really well, getting some Canterbury titles, 2 silver medals, people were patting me on the back, shaking my hand, yeah, give me the thumbs up, good stuff. But when I was in despair and agony, man, people were hugging me. They were holding my hand. They were looking at me at a humanistic level, a deeper level, a more meaningful level. And it brought that human compassion out, that human empathy that we kind of miss sometimes when we're caught up being busy. So this is what pain does bring, and it has purpose and it has meaning behind it. And that's the search for meaning within those moments. Yeah, and I connected with individuals within that cancer realm who were going through a lot more than me. Families with kids, they had to uproot their lives, stay at Ranui House, send them to a different school, and their mother or father were getting treatment, and some of them died, man. Some of them died. And you get to connect with these people, and you can say it's meaningless, but the connections are fostered, and then you create a foundation, and you get to communicate, and that communication, that connection through that pain gives you some hope. Hope is great, some hope to pursue forward.
You must have had some amazing yarns with people when you're, doing your treatment side by side type of thing, right?
Yeah, I did. I get some amazing yarns about people from where they were in their whole life story. I don't know if they shared that with their family, but I felt very privileged to hear someone's whole life story, the accomplishments they've made, the hardships they've overcome. And then we laugh and talk a bit of shit too, obviously.
Compulsory, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But just hear somebody from where they've been, the adventures they've acquired, the experiences they've accumulated. It's really cool, and it gives you a perspective in life too. And then it opens up your idea of possibilities as well. Yeah.
Wanted to talk about the introduction to your now wife. As I sat beside you and you've got your shoes off, I don't think you have smelly feet, but...
Thanks, mate. Cheers, Sibs. I hope you can listen to that one.
I don't know, maybe it's painkillers or something taking out my smell, but tell us about that story, because you've been through this journey, and of course we've skipped over a lot of the stuff, and we'll get back into it, but... Sure. You're now more open to having yarns and connecting with people. So you're on a flight.
Yep. Yeah. So it's been about 8 years now, and I'm connecting with people. I've been severely depressed and all that. So I'm engaging with people, looking at people in the eyes, and on this plane flight, because I was getting treatment in Melbourne, so I'm flying back and forth once a month, twice a month to get treatment. And this whole plane flight was full, and there was one seat between me and this Very attractive girl, I must say, Matthew. Especially for me, man. I was definitely punching above my weight. You can. So I sat next to her, and I said to her, how are you? And she took her headphones off, and she looked at me and said, "Oh, hello. I'm good, thanks." And we had a little conversation. And you mentioned stinky feet. The reason why Matt brings this up, because when I was on the plane, my body locks up, so I take my shoes off. And it must have been a bit of a vile smell wafting through the plane. But she was very polite and didn't mention this. And we got conversing, had a conversation. And I said, "Oh, what are you up to?" And she's from Switzerland. She's just done a backpacking trip around New Zealand, done a yoga teaching training course, and now she's going to Australia. And she asked me what I was doing in Aussie. I said, "I'm meeting my brother." And then I asked the next question. I said, "What do you do for work? What's your job in Switzerland?" And she said, "I'm a cancer nurse, an oncology nurse." So I thought,
Hit the jackpot.
I thought, this was my pickup line, man. I said, "Oh, listen, I'm actually going to Melbourne for this cancer treatment." I said, "Oh, do you want to come and see this cancer treatment? Do you want to come and see it?" And she said, "Yeah, sure, I'll come and have a look." And I thought she was just being nice and friendly, She's on her travels, doesn't want to come and see me. But sure enough, she was at Parliament Building at 10 o'clock, which I said, and she was there. So it was a big alignment of values. She backed up what she said. She didn't just say it to make me feel good. She backed up what she said. And I thought, wow, this is a pretty cool girl. And today, man, it was the first time my treatment's ever been delayed. It was at 10:30, and it was delayed to, I think, at 1 o'clock now. And so I said, "You can go off and do your thing now." She wanted to hang out. We had a coffee, had a good chat. It was a wonderful conversation. Come back, saw my treatment. We ended up spending the week together. She come back and saw my other treatment. And it was the first of our many dates. And from that, we shared a first kiss. And yeah.
I mean, fantastic connection. And this is being open and being curious to ask a question and ask a question on a plane or wherever, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was no expectations from that question. Like it was just a hello, how are you? And then all of a sudden that unfolded, and it is pinch yourself. She is beautiful, outside and inside. She has an incredible heart, and she's my best friend. And I don't think I could find anyone else that aligns with me in this world. And I do believe in serendipitous. She came into my life and the opportunity was there. It was just up to me to say hello. And I took that opportunity, and look where we are right now, man. I mean, I was about to take my life X number of years ago, 14, 15 years ago, and now we've got this wonderful daughter. We had her IVF. Her middle name's after our donor. I mean, on a simplistic level, I feel like I'm a king, if that makes sense. I mean, this wonderful woman that I can share my life with, she brings out the best in me. She communicates so well, and this little girl who's growing up to be this very strong, confident individual who I'm just so proud of. And I reflect in the morning and about these hard things. I deal with a lot of pain on a daily basis, man. It's not easy to be me. Sybil puts up with that. She helps me through it. I just feel so blessed. So blessed. That one door I thought was closed. My whole life was closed, and here I am just living a simple life in terms of what people think. But we've got a mortgage. It's fucking great. I've got a house, man. I've got my daughter, I've got my wife, and we live a simple but beautiful life.
And meaningful.
And very, very meaningful. Very meaningful.
I love it. I mean, again, we've skipped over that journey, but there's a lot there. And the other question I wanted to ask was really how you got into the breath work and peace.
Yeah, great question. How did I get into the breath work? Breathing for me was something that I just did innately when I was in hospital, when I was in pain. So it was like a de-reflection practice. So I was taking my attention away from the pain to the breath, and I just slowed my breathing down. I tried to really slow it down, and I just play around with it, and it really helped me. It just really helped disassociate from the pain that I was in, especially when I had that trigeminal neuralgia and some difficult stuff. So that was my segue into breathway. Like, I didn't understand it though. It was just something that I did. And then obviously Wim Hof came out talking about breathing, and I was like, wow, that's cool. However, went to his course, couldn't really attend his course, but did a bit of his practices, and it was fantastic. However, I don't recommend his breathing method if you have dysfunctional breathing. We can talk about that later. But once I understood the science behind how I could regulate my breath to go from stress to calm, was quite amazing. So for me, breathing is a behaviour. It's just a behaviour. For sure, we do it all the time, but it's a behaviour learned from an anticipation or a stimulation. So breathing obviously can change. So when we, say for the ice bath's a great analogy. We think about the ice bath, the heart rate goes up, blood pressure goes up, and then our breath rate follows that as well. And this can happen not just with an ice bath, but external stimulus from an anticipation. Even if you're going into a sports game, I'm going into this big game, heart rate goes up, blood pressure goes up, breath rate goes up. Unconsciously, it just goes from the thought perception around it. So that's the anticipation. And then obviously in the stimulation as well, when something's occurred, heart rate, breath rate, that's the stress state, which is amazing. But imagine if we can just control our breath rate, regulate that to calm ourselves down a bit in that stress state. We need that stress state to be alert, but we need to have a bit of calm there as well. So we're activating different pathways through our brain. So we're calming down what we call the emotional part, the amygdala, through our breathing pattern. Yeah, because the breathing. Yep.
So I have been a practicing boxed breathing.
Yep.
The four in,
four hold, four out, four hold. Yep.
Is that a part of it, or is it?
Yeah.
Is it a step? Is there more to go with it?
Yeah, I mean, breathing is amazing. Everyone thinks it's just breathing. Let's take a breath, but there's so much in it. Okay, so someone could recommend you take a deep breath. Now, Matt, what does that look like? That's it, dysfunctional breath right there. You're just putting more stress on your physiology. You're breathing through the mouth, the chest went up, there was no diaphragmatic breathing there, the respiratory rate on the inhale was quite fast, and the exhale was quite shallow, slow. So I always start with a principle called nasal, gentle, slow, and expansive. Now we have to train that. Just like going to the gym, we have to set the foundation, or like going for a run. We need to build an aerobic foundation. We don't just go out and start running and then all of a sudden we're a fast 800-meter runner. Same with breathing. We need to set the 4 key principles on functional breathing to be able to allow our physiology, our nervous system, to feel the changes of our respiratory rate, if that makes sense, to change the behaviour. Yeah.
And is a part of that being aware?
Being aware, however, we need to be trained. We do need to be trained because there is a functional way, as I said. We need to be breathing in through the nose. The nose is amazing. It's the innate organ. You might see some books behind us, well, my wife's books, scientific books there. It's written up in the medical books. The nose is the innate organ to breathe from. It's our immune system on our face. So when we breathe in, we've got little cilia, we've got a mucosal membrane. It traps pathogens and pushes it back out. We don't have that in the mouth. When we breathe in through the nose, we've got a little cavity called the paranasal sinus, and that produces nitric oxide, which is a vasodilator. So it dilates the airways, the bronchioles and bronchioles into the lungs already. So I was a chronic asthmatic growing up, mouth breather, had vasoconstriction. Okay, so that helps dilate the airways. So it's quite amazing.
Interesting one.
That's just through the nose. Okay, so then we've got to make it gentle. We make that inhale nice and gentle. So we're activating the vagus nerve, that parasympathetic side of our nervous system, that calm state. Nice and gentle, and then we make nasal gentle, then we make that exhale nice and slow, same thing. And this is called respiratory sinus arrhythmia. So when we slow that exhale down, we're actually making more space. So it's a pressure volume acronym here. So when we breathe in, our diaphragm contracts down. So we create more volume, less pressure. So the heart starts to speed up. So when we slow our exhale down, nice and calm, the heart kind of conduces down, the diaphragm comes up, the heart space comes down. So we get less volume, but more pressure. So the heart has to slow itself down naturally to maintain the pressure gradient for the blood supply around the body. So that's just playing around with the gentle inhale and slow exhale. And then automatically you're slowing your heart rate down. You're shifting your nervous system, you're changing your physiology just by breathing. And then the expansive part, the diaphragm, that's where we should be breathing from. We're all diaphragmatic breathers, but we're not activating this important muscle within our body efficiently. So we've got pressure receptors on the side of our body, pushing the intercostal muscles on the side of our body. Intercostal muscles, we've got pressure receptors that send signals to the brain to say, hey, we're a bit calm. We're a bit calm. So it's called the hearing brewer reflex. So picture a balloon. If we're blowing up a balloon, we keep blowing. What happens?
Well, it'll pop
A pop.
potentially.
Correct. So the brain has to get a signal to activate to say, hey, we've got a bit too much here. Let it go. So we need to activate those pressure receptors to say we've got a bit too much. It's called the hearing brewer reflex. So that pressure receptor creates a calming effect on the body. So it just helps us relax. So
really scientific. This is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, we're just touching on the surface of it. Yeah, and there's a whole different theory around the polyvagal theory and breathing and things like that. We could go deep into that, but breathing, like running, like the gym, starts with a foundation. So for listeners, it's nasal, gentle, slow, and expansive, and then we can work on different breathing exercises, such as box breathing.
When do you chuck people in an ice bath?
Mate, I love the ice bath. I really do. It's kind of my go-to morning ritual. We've got an outside cold shower. We use that. But it's all about breathing. That's all it is. It's how I can control my respiratory rate for that NGSE principle. I've got different breathing exercises that I do in the ice bath, but it's controlling that respiratory rate in a controlled situation. You know, it's kind of like an analogy for life. We're outside, we're driving the car, someone cuts you off, you react. Okay? It's the anticipation to the ice bath, control the respiratory rate, slowing it down, NGSE, different breathing exercises. You're in the stimulus now. That's the anticipation part. Now you're in the stimulus. We're in the stressor. Someone's cut you off. Don't react, slow it down. He might have had a bad day. What's going on? It's all good. No one's dead. We're all here. It's fine. So it's controlling that breath rate to get awareness, choose an attitude, and then we can put meaning to where we're going.
Do you find that, what's the sort of time frame from, say, starting with someone around, let's teach them how to breathe properly, to getting them in an ice bath? Because you probably want a bit of practice and default level of calm breathing, as I'll call it. Yeah,
so I got a program called Breathe with Meaning, and we start teaching people functional breathing techniques, you know, the foundation, and that's trained. It's like having a coach for running. So encouraging them to do the exercises, and then we check back in, and there's tests that we do to see if they are implementing the exercises. You know, we've got carbon dioxide tests and things like that we can do online. It's quite simple. So establishing a functional breathing pattern, and once they've got that, they've got up to a certain mark of how they're slowing down their respiratory rate, their behaviour towards CO2 building up or holding on to. We test that, and they're in that functional breathing realm. Yeah, jump in an ice bath for sure. Anyone can jump in an ice bath, but what we see online too, I want people to see, like, people get in there and they're, you don't want to be doing that. You do not want to be doing that. You're just putting more stress on your body, and that's dysfunctional breathing, and then you're creating a new behaviour as you go out in life.
Of panicking.
Yeah, of panicking, for sure, and that's part of anxiety too. We've got a high respiratory rate. I mean, a lot of people either hold their breath or they're over-breathing, you know. So we train their breathing rate in the normal realm, trying to get them down to 10 to 6 breaths per minute. So their behaviour, the air hunger tolerance, has improved towards the CO2 building up in their blood.
What's a general, I'm going to say, time period or times of practice from starting to getting in the water? Is it, or just depends on the person?
Depends on the person. I mean, we can have an ice bath after this if you like, mate.
I can't get in and out of a bath at the moment. That's my excuse today.
I don't have a chairlift. No.
A winch.
No, yeah. I mean, I do some workshops and things like that. We talk about functional breathing, and the main aim is to get in, just keep it nasal and slow. If we can do that, cool. But everything, we need to be continuous. Consistency is key here. So it's nice to go to a workshop or an event and you do the ice bath. We need to keep going. And there's amazing places around Christchurch like O Studio. They've got ice baths there. I mean, understand functional breathing, get in your ice bath and do it habitually. Yeah, get into it.
Shout out to Tim Bateman, of course. He's one of the original yarnsmen.
He's a great guy.
Thinking about your journey, how do you, and it is a journey, I think of mental health as a journey rather than it being static.
That's a mission, eh?
How do you maintain good wellness?
Good wellness.
Or an equilibrium, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I like to be quite routine. I've got a morning routine. I get outside in the morning. I have a cold shower outside or an ice bath. I'll do some stretching. I'll do some prayer and meditation and some breathing exercises. That's something that I do. So I've got a bit of discipline there. So I get myself out in the morning. But for me, good mental health really comes down to connections and communication. And I can't advocate that enough. I've got that discipline and movement practice around me, which are all fantastic. The ice baths, all that stuff is incredible. But without the pillars of communication and connection, that creates the best mental health. Because innately, we are creatures of connection. We are. And we crave it. And I don't know if you've heard that song, Simon and Garfunkel, The Sound of Silence. Disturbed do a great version. That was written in 1964, and lyrically, I cannot think of a better song that really sums up today's world. People talking without speaking, people listening without hearing, and the sound of silence is all around us, and the neon gods they see, and we walk around with these neon gods, such as the iPhones. So we've become more connected through this technology, which is amazing. Love technology. However, we're not having those conversations.
It's about in-person connection,
sure.
Right? Being able to sit down, see the whites of your eyes.
See the whites of the person, see where they've been, have those conversations like I did when I was in hospital, hearing the experiences of other people. And it just shifts your perspectives and it opens up your idea for opportunities and possibilities too. Because often we're comparing ourselves to people online, and comparison can be the thief of joy. It's disheartening. Or it could be the excitement of encouragement, depends the way you look at it.
And I almost think that quote of comparison can also be the theft of getting support, especially for guys. Oh no, I'm all right. I'm tough. I can work this out. But that's that's something that well, theft of support.
Theft of support, sure. But what do I do? My wife's an amazing communicator. I've got a great family. We have dinner together and it's great conversations. For sure, she's calling me out on some stuff. I get frustrated, but she keeps me accountable. But that's the pillar, and that's the pillar of resilience too. Those connections and communication. If I didn't have good friends in my life, good people in my life, I don't think I'd be here today, Matt. And my iPhone's not going to help me through those times.
100%.
Yeah.
How can people get you along for some breath work?
Yeah, so I like the term breath practice because it's all practice. Sorry. Yeah, no, don't apologise, no, because people use it as work, that's fine. You can go online, joshkomen.com. I've got a 6-week program there if you want to jump on that. Go for it, absolutely. I'd love to have you on board. Everyone needs to learn to breathe functionally, but not only that, we bring meaning practices in it. So for me, the Breathe with Meaning program is a connection with yourself, so it's a connection with the breath. We understand how to do that functionally, so we can regulate ourselves in real time, to create awareness, to choose our attitude. And then the meaning part is kind of connecting with things outside of ourselves. Because that's really, really important. Because often we're hyper-reflective. We're thinking about ourselves, I'm not feeling this way. But once we take the attention away from ourselves, things start to open up. So that meaning aspect, that breathe, we've got the connection with ourselves. The meaning aspect's connecting with what's outside of ourselves.
I love it. And I think we're going to have to do a Yarnsman session with this and chucking people in the ice bath. Look, Josh, amazing story. I know we just skimmed over it. We're going to hear from you on Thursday night. The podcast will be published long after that. But yeah, thank you so much for this yarn, and thank you for helping us adapt that fourth question that's been troubling me for a while. Really appreciate you, mate.
Oh, thank you so much, Matt. And I just love the work you're doing. I really do. You're doing great stuff for the community and the people around you. And then that's what it's about. It's meaningful work, deep meaningful work. And I wish you all the best for your rehabilitation there, mate. And thank you for your effort and being so flexible for coming around here, especially in the condition you are. So enjoy your peach pie. I'll give you a ride home, mate. And I look forward to the conversation on Thursday night, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.